Hey guys! Today Mykal and I are interviewing Ehasz and Justin Richmond, the creators of the Netflix show The Dragon Prince, in anticipation for Season 2. It'll be released on February 15th, and once again have 9 episodes. Enjoy! Thank you guys so much for joining us, talking about Dragon Prince Season 2. So since there are two of you, could you each introduce yourself and talk about your role on the show?
Sure, I'm Justin Richmond, co-creator.
I'm Aaron Ehasz, co-creator of The Dragon Prince. He is also,
I am also,
also The Dragon
I
Prince.
co-created Ford trucks.
So we do have quite a few questions for you guys, and let's just see how many we can get through. So first off, I had some fun questions for you guys. What is your favorite fan theory or fan headcanon that you've seen that people make online that you think would just be so cool?
There's a lot of really good ones. Oh man, do you have one?
I've noticed there's a fan theory that Viren is a good and handsome man that comes from our writing team. It's an intriguing theory.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The theory of Claudia making stuff with dark magic, I think that's pretty fun. There's a lot of just funny things that people have pitched.
Yeah, do you guys, what's a weird one that you guys like?
A weird one?
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I love any Callum is an elf ones are pretty fun.
Yeah, those are great.
I like that one.
Would you be able to tell? Would he have like a half a finger somewhere? Would there be some sign of that,
Yeah,
or is it? Yeah.
They're actually wood pinkies. Yeah, these
little tiny bumps on his head, or one. I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome. So speaking of elves, without spoiling anything, hopefully this isn't an issue. What kind of elf do you think you would be?
Oh man.
If Callum were an elf.
Wait, would we be or would Callum be?
You guys.
You guys.
Who would you choose to be?
You go.
I think I'd be a Sunfire elf. I think I'd be a Sunfire elf. I don't know, what do you think?
I recognize it's a little bit of a snooty thing to say, but I would be a Star Touch elf. I don't even know if we've said the word Star Touch elf before.
We have not.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There you go.
Okay.
Awesome. So I know this might be more of a writer's question, but especially with the elf culture and the humans, all the kingdoms, did you have any specific inspirations for those?
I think it was pretty broad. I mean, we try to make them unique in the sense that they're their own. Hopefully, they're their own thing. But we looked at tons of architectural reference and pictures of nature and all. I mean, there was. I'm trying to remember if there was specific, really specific stuff.
You're always kind of walking a fine, not a fine line, but you're walking a line between finding inspiration versus appropriation, right? So you want it to be an act of creation that includes things that inspire you and things that you want to kind of pay homage to, but you never want to be so close that you're kind of ripping something off, because often if you do that, you're getting something wrong, or you're getting something off or inauthentically. So, but we found inspiration in a lot of places. It's also a great question for character designers and background designers at Bardell who find a lot of the visual inspiration for the elves and the elven parts of the world.
Yeah.
Interesting. Gotcha. So watching through season 2, I noticed there were quite a few dark/brutal moments that happened. Slightly brutal, nothing too crazy, but kind of pushing the line. Was it hard to get anything approved via Netflix? Were there any restrictions or anything like that?
I would say no, but specifically, they've been excellent creative partners. You would call it George.
George, yeah.
Their S&P person who we also worked with a long time ago on Avatar. I mean, his goal is not to restrict us or block us. It's to help us tell a story that's epic and powerful and reaches whatever dramatic, heights we want to reach in a way that's appropriate. So it's sort of understanding, and he's just been an excellent advisor and support on that front, and helped us to tell a story that we think is we hope is a very deep and timeless story that's not gratuitous or isn't going to violate someone's sense of trust if they let a younger person watch the show or something like that. but so we're able to explore some pretty dark themes and events because we do it creatively and appropriately.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think you guys found a really good balance.
So there's also a video game that is going to be like tying in with the world of Dragon Prince. Is there anything you can tell us about that game coming up?
We're making it. No, it's we're not really talking about specifically what it is, but it is going to be cross-platform. It's going to be a much deeper dive into the world of Zadia, and hopefully you will be able to, like fans will be able to find out more about parts of the world and things that we sort of touch on in the show but don't have time to like dig deep into.
I will say and I don't know if we've said this, maybe we have, it's built out of the world of Zadia and the story. So it's going to have many of the characters and people you've seen in the show that you love and care about and want to play those roles. But it also is going to have characters and people from the world that we haven't seen or haven't seen yet. So there's a lot of like new content and kind of exciting things in Zadia that are going to be in the game, or at least be in the game first.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. So the people that we haven't seen in the show or may not see in the show, are they technically canonically existing in the universe?
They're canon.
Yeah.
I mean, what we have at Wonderstorm is a situation where the teams that are working on the game are working really closely with the teams that work on the show. You know, our writing team is, I mean, literally entirely, they were all writers at Riot Games before. So one of them was a game designer, was a champion designer. So there's a ton of overlap in the skill sets of our writing team and our creative team. And there's also just a ton of overlap in the way the game teams and the show teams kind of work together creatively. So they're very much from the same universe. They're very much from the same team.
Yeah.
And it's canon. And it's going to be fun.
Awesome.
I know that it hasn't been too long since the first season, but I'm wondering, like, how did you take fan feedback from that season and integrate it into season 2?
So I mean, first of all, it's hard in cartoons because it comes out and then you get the feedback, as opposed to being like on Netflix, like everything drops at once, right? So on a weekly show, it's a little bit easier to hear stuff along the way. But what's great about Netflix is you get to watch all of it at once. So we got feedback on like the whole season at the same time. So I mean, we're always trying to make the show better, right? Like we always want it to be every single episode should be better than the one that we did before that. So I think we took to heart some of the like ideas of how people thought we could make the show look better, or things that we could do in terms of like making the actual quality bar of the rendering, all that kind of stuff better. So we did that, and we sort of looked at what are the ways we could improve our production and ways we could improve our rendering service and all that kind of stuff. So I think season 2 looks even better than season 1, and hopefully if we get more seasons, those seasons look even better than season 2, and that's what we want to do.
That's great. So do you have any set endings for all of the characters, or are you still kind of fleshing it out as you go along?
We have a much longer term vision for the characters in the show than we're at the tip of the iceberg of the story for us. So Justin and I have spent a lot of time figuring out where these characters are going, figuring out where this world is going, figuring out how this epic unfolds. So the details within that, there are some things that have yet to be fleshed out, and how certain things happen or are revealed. For example, we're still figuring out the best ways to do that, but we have a very clear shape in mind for the story and where it's ultimately going, and we're excited about it.
Awesome. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. And speaking of characters, what should we expect for Callum now that he no longer has a Primal Stone? Can you talk about that?
Sadness.
Yeah, I mean, what is it like to be a person who found the thing that they think that they were born to do, and then all of a sudden they can't do it anymore, right? Like,
what if you were Serena Williams and you lost your last tennis racket?
You can no longer buy a tennis racket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for whatever reason, tennis rackets are now extinct.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to... He just had this experience where he started to find an identity, at least in terms of how he can have an impact on the world and how he can kind of interact, right? He found like he can use his artistic skills and they translate into him being a talented mage. but the tool that allowed him to kind of channel that energy was something he sacrificed for a really important goal, and it's really beautiful that he sacrificed it, but now where does that leave him?
Yeah.
Well, it probably leaves him feeling insecure. It probably leaves him looking for, how do I make a difference? It probably leaves him tempted to explore dark magic, right? Like, well, maybe this is how I make a difference. Maybe it's worth it, and I can, the ends justify the means, and if I have good ends, maybe it's okay if I use darker means. So I think it's it's leaving him in a place where he has to figure out who he is and how he wants to make a difference, and so
Awesome. Speaking of dark magic, what was the impetus for making the dark magic spells English backwards? Was it just because it sounded creepy, or is there a deeper reason behind that?
What do you think? What would be the deeper reason?
That's a good question.
Maybe it's like a mirror to like regular English. It's just like something about that. I thought it'd be fun.
I think there is something about it that's just that it sounds creepy, but yes, I think you're right. There's something about it that's distorted, and it's kind of inverting the purpose or energy of something to exploit it in a way that's the opposite of, or not the opposite, but you're kind of twisting it around and distorting it. So that's why. I mean, also we wanted to do it in a way that would sound cool, but that fans who want to go deeper can go, oh, that's what this one was. Yeah. Oh, that's what's being, said here. So it's just one of those things we wanted to leave for fans as.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much, all that magic stuff. So how did you decide what to name each season? Is it based on a theme, or you just have it like set in a set order that you want to go with?
No, it's thematic, right? Like in general, we're trying to, like, just because it was moon or sky, right? It's not exactly tied into exactly what's going on in the season, but it is thematically appropriate, and hopefully the journey that the characters are on feel like the seasons are connected to those things, right?
It's lighter thematic.
It's lighter thematic.
We don't like hold ourselves to a hard rule that, like, if we're in book of whatever, that every elf from that type has to be there, and the magic type is that type.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want it to be rigid, but thematically we definitely go through and have a sense of, we see Sky as partially about like freedom and identity and realizing your potential and things like that, and so thematically that's where Sky is, and that doesn't mean that the whole season is going to be about the wind.
Right.
But there's some wind in it.
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly.
So they're lightly themed. It's a way of organizing the story, but we don't want to be confined by it either.
Interesting. So how did you find the balance of comedy and drama this season? Because I noticed the comedy was even more on point than it was last season. But it didn't feel out of place most of the time. So, how did you find that balance of keeping things serious, but also finding the time to be lighthearted and joke around?
I'm gonna give a shot. Aaron's a genius at this. Seriously, this is something that as a creative person, getting to work with him has been a dream, because this is why I think that in general, I think this is why I like the Marvel movies more than I like DC movies, is because they blend humor and action and serious stakes in a much more interesting way, and I think it's something that Aaron just instinctively does. And then we also have some very funny writers in our room, but I think there is a genius to it where Aaron can look at something and say, this should be funny, and it is a serious moment, but there should be a joke here, or let's make sure we keep the humor in this, because there's a lot of dark stuff that happens. In this season. Yeah, sorry. There's a lot of dark stuff that happens in this season, and we never want that to be we never want it to be grimdark or sad. And I think just Aaron in general is really, really good at picking those moments and saying, this is a joke right here. We're missing a joke right here. And I think this season we hit it on all cylinders, frankly.
Wow, he's never said that to me before. That's really nice.
Sweet.
We do really believe in the power of that balance, and I think we believe that balance is that's the definition of we talk sometimes about comic relief.
Yeah. And
the idea that the comic relief is not just about relief, like you take a deep breath, but that in I guess in art, relief is the part you remove from the carving or engraving that reveals the detail and dimension in the part you didn't remove. So that's the relief. So to some degree, comic relief actually brings out the dimension and the drama and the emotional parts. It balances it, but it also accentuates it.
Right.
And I think we believe that. But also I think life is hard, right? And like having a sense of humor is a big part of like having strength and hope and connecting with the people around you, and so blending humor even in the face of real emotional challenges and obstacles we think is just important.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I guess one more question. Is there anything you want the fans to pay attention to for this season, just overall? Look out for.
I don't know. All of it?
Pay attention to.
It's a hard question.
I don't know. I mean, I hope this season, last season was introducing a lot of the world and the conflicts, and here we're getting deeper with some of these characters and starting to understand what they're up against in the world. And so I think hopefully they're investing their hearts into this the way we are, and they want more, and that gives us an opportunity to make more. I know that's not exactly the answer you're looking for, more of a creative answer, and I just hope people feel more invested and that they're like, yeah, give us the rest of this epic tale because we want to give you the rest of it. We love telling the story, and we love the community that's grown up and that's growing up around the Dragon Prince. We're really grateful.
Without spoiling anything, there's some like history in this season. What was this something that was planned from the very beginning, or did you figure it out when writing this season?
Some of that stuff before we even worked on season 1. Like, it was,
Interesting.
it was very early on. We knew a bunch of that stuff was going to happen, or that technically that had happened, I guess. But yeah, we knew very, very early. We know a lot about the history of, in particular, of Harrow and the families and stuff like that, but also just the history of the world. And so we had a bunch of stuff planned up that we were able to get in there. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Hopefully we can talk to you again.
Yeah,
I'd love to.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, if you think of anything last minute you need to ask us, just give a shout out.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.